Another split this week, and it was kind of mirror image scores. They were pretty similar between day one and day two. But let's start off by talking about the win, 86 to 71 on the front end of the doubleheader, and a lot of great things happened in this game. Just to kind of list off, Kevion Taylor had 30 points and 8 rebounds. Luke Martins was perfect from the floor, 6 of 6 from the field, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. He had 3 steals and 6 rebounds. Connor Dillon, 12 off the bench. Owen King had 12 points. Tell me a little bit about that game and how everything kind of came together against Minnesota State.
Well, I thought offensively we were really good all game. The difference in the game was we did a much better job defensively in the second half. So anytime you can get 4 guys in double figures, you're doing some good things offensively. Kevion had a really good game. He didn't shoot it very well, but he attacked the rim. He got to the free throw line. Luke was tremendous, really on both ends of the floor for us. Gave us a lot of energy. Obviously, scored at a really high clip. When you're perfect from the floor, you're doing some good things well. And Connor continues to give us a lift off the bench, which we certainly need. So it was a good all-around game for us. Like I said, I was really pleased with the defense in the second half, which allowed us to separate a little bit after a close first half, and it was a good way to start the weekend.
Points off turnovers was another big thing. I mean, you really forced Minnesota State into some turnovers, and 21 of your first half points came off turnovers.
Yeah, it's something we've been talking about with our guys. We have not done a good job of forcing turnovers to date. I'm not sure if they were just a little loose with the ball. I don't know if we really did anything differently, to be real honest with you, but they gave us some opportunities to come up with some turnovers and go convert it in the other direction, and took advantage of that. And it's something we need to do on a much more consistent basis.
So what was the message to your team then from day one going into day two? Because, as we know, the second day of a doubleheader has seemed to be kind of a role reversal this season, just because you're facing the same team the second time, and obviously adjustments are made. What did you tell your team prior to the second game?
Well, the previous 2 games we haven't defended very well. The Augie road trip, and then obviously the Wayne State game at home, and so that was going to be the challenge: is where we're going to be tough enough mentally and physically to defend at a high enough level to give ourselves a chance again to win day 2. Because anytime you can sweep on the road, you're doing some really good things. And unfortunately, defensively, we played 4 halves of basketball last weekend, and Mankato shot 55% or more in 3 of those 4 halves, and that's the recipe for disaster. We survived the first day by being good offensively. We weren't good enough, in particular in the second half, especially when they started causing us some problems, with what they were doing defensively. And then it led to us not defending at a very high level at all, and allowed them to pull away. But, that was the disappointing part is we've just now, really the last 3 conference weekends, we have not shown up on the defensive end of the floor in day 2. And, a lot of that has to do with depth, but that's a convenient excuse. The other part is just a connectedness and a toughness level that you have to do to survive. I mean, it doesn't really change anything from previous years. We play back-to-back nights in every other year, and it might just be a different team. But we didn't show up defensively really to start the game, and we're lucky with Kevion going crazy in the second half of day 2, in the first half of day 2. To keep us close, but then he scored 2 points in the second half, and they stayed at the high level of offense, and that's why they won by 25.
Was it adjustments made by Minnesota State? Because Kevion Taylor had 7 3-pointers on the day, and as you mentioned, only 2 points in the second half. So all those came in the first half. Did they double down on him? Did they try to take him out of the game?
I think they just got up into him a little bit better. Obviously, he got going in the first half, which was really good to see. He has not been shooting the ball very well. But they got it into him. So now his freedom to shoot certainly went away. We didn't do a great job probably of freeing him up. If we could get some opportunities for him to do some damage for us at the line, and then he didn't do as good a job of getting to the rim and finishing versus that pressure or getting to the foul line. So, that's been an unfortunate part of what we've experienced so far this year, is when we don't get what we want, or I talk to our guys, when we don't get to do the fun stuff in the game, we have a tendency, unfortunately, to let the other end of the floor, track in the wrong direction. And that's a sign, unfortunately, of immaturity and just not a lack of mental toughness. And that's not good when you're starting, 3 seniors and 2 juniors. And but we just let Mankato do whatever they wanted all game. From our defensive standpoint, and when we didn't get what we want offensively, it got worse.
Obviously we do a lot of guessing when we're doing the games and trying to figure out, why things are going the way that they're going. And I know that we've talked to you before about, one of the key things that you want to do with the Warriors is try to get more of an inside presence. Currently, it's, the three-pointers are the main thing that work for you. Do you find that if one facet of the game is working, that the team tries to do that a little bit more than the other part that's not working?
Well, it's unfortunate the way we're constructed, and obviously I constructed the team, so it goes back on me. But, we just don't have a presence there in terms of being in the paint and someone that can sit down with their back to the basket and be a threat the teams have to worry about from a scoring standpoint. Or, he's so good that they double team him and frees up things easier for us. And another way you can get what we call paint points is the ability to get into a seam off the dribble and create help to free people up on the perimeter. And we just have had a hard time doing both. We don't have the makeup of our team. I mean, Kevion will post up, but he's still more comfortable posting up at about 12 feet. But we talk about, putting your feet in the paint and asking for the ball there. I mean, it's obviously not Andrea's strong suit with his frame. And Kev would rather be faced up at 12 feet and prefer to play at the arc. And so we just haven't had that in our program really, since I got here, to be real honest with you. And we've kind of gone to, shooting a lot of threes, and at the end of the day, it works out okay for us. I'm not really as concerned about that, to be real honest with you, Justin. I mean, at the end of the day, we're scoring at a high enough clip and led the league in three-pointers made and attempted last year. We just don't defend. And if we don't defend, we're going to be 500 at best, and we're going to be done a lot earlier than everybody wants to be done this year. And that's got to change. I've met with a couple of players this week, and what we're doing on the defensive end in terms of an effort, mental effort, physical effort, a toughness level, it's not good enough, and we got to get that fixed.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about your bench production then. Tell me about how your reserves are kind of helping your starters throughout the game to kind of give them the rest that they need to come back and perform the way that they should.
Well, we need it to be better, I can tell you that. And it's not, in terms of the people that are playing, we just don't have enough. I mean, I'm asking too much of Kev in terms of minutes played, and I think it impacts his overall production and efficiency. We had the same issue last year. I mean, we played 3 guys, I think, that were in the top 6 in minutes played in the league, and I think Dev was like 20th overall. So, I mean, we had 4 of our 5 starters were in the top 20 in the league in minutes played, and guys on the bench that come off the bench, they got to help us. And if they're not going to help us, I'm not going to play them. I mean, it's pretty simple. This is not the YMCA where everybody gets an equal amount of time and everybody gets a ribbon at the end of the day. So, but we got to get guys that can help us. And right now we don't have a lot to choose from that are, in my opinion, ready to play. And with that, they got to earn those minutes in practice. This is, like I said, it's not, it's not an equal amount of time for every person that suits up. So, Connor Dillon's given us some really good minutes offensively, really all year when he's been available. He's had some ups and downs with some of the COVID protocol things that we've had to follow in terms of his availability. But when he's gotten in there and he's been able to practice during the week to get ready, he's shown a tremendous propensity to score the basketball at a high level. And we're certainly excited about, even the next 2 weeks and what he can do for us in the future. I mean, he's going to come in next year as a freshman again, which is interesting, but that's how everything's going to work due to this season. And so we're excited about him. Nick Luke can give us some good minutes at times, but needs to be more consistent. Delonte's obviously filled a role for us this year, and that's really the 3 guys that we're using off the bench. And so it does impact our frontline depth, and using Luke and Kev and Andrea. And if anyone gets in foul trouble, now we've got bigger issues. And so it's definitely a challenge. Everybody deals with injuries. We've had 2 really important players down for the year, and you can't control that. But it would have certainly been nice to have them because our depth and our rotations would have been a lot different.
All right. Since we have a little time here to kind of discuss things, I mean, how does that work with players that are hurt and can't be a part of team activities? I mean, how do we make sure that they stay a part of the team, because all they can do is watch and sit on the bench and kind of cheer everybody on?
Yeah, I think you'd be really impressed with the Lou Dillon. Obviously, he's new to our program and had the unfortunate knee injury in the fall and had to have surgery to repair the meniscus. And, so he's going to miss this season, obviously. And we hope to obviously have him back for the next 2 years at 100%. And, I mean, he's an imposing figure. He's 6'8" and about 240 pounds right now, and he's really athletic. And that's someone we haven't had in our program. We talk about an inside presence. Although he can shoot the basketball, he will play in the paint. He's got a very good touch with his back to the basket. But he is tremendous in practice in terms of staying engaged, trying to almost be another coach on the floor and really trying to help the guys that are playing see some things that he's seeing. And I think that's really important. Obviously, Al actually is back doing some practice, and he's going to try to play possibly a little bit this weekend and next weekend on the partially torn ACL, which obviously he's been given clearance to do that. And but Al's a real smart player and he sees things. But they're at every practice and every weightlifting session, and we try to keep them as involved as they can be physically, but certainly want them as involved mentally and verbally as much as possible.
All right, let's talk about this weekend's opponents then. Concordia-St Paul, which has traditionally been a rival of Winona State. They're having a little bit of a down year, but obviously you can't take that for granted and say that it's going to be an easy weekend. How do you feel that you match up against Concordia?
Yeah, well, as we've mentioned here, I mean, we can't take anybody for granted with what we do defensively. Our numbers are on the defensive end of the floor are embarrassing. And so, right now it doesn't matter who we play. We've got to clean some things up on that end of the floor. It's a new coach, new system. He came from Bethany Lutheran over in Mankato, and we played him last year, I'm pretty sure, and had trouble with him. He had done a nice job taking Bethany Lutheran to the NCAA tournament, I think 2 times, and they spread the floor. They're skilled in terms of getting into seams and trying to make you help and kick the shooters. And they're going to shoot a lot of threes. They're averaging about 28 3-point attempts a game, and they haven't played as well as I know they would like to. But if we give college players open 3-point shots, they're going to make them. And we're last in the league in defensive 3-point field goal percentage. So what they want to do is what we're not doing very well. What they want to do on offense is one of the things we're not doing very well at all defensively. And so it has me very concerned just because I'm not at a level where I trust what we're going to do defensively will be good enough on a consistent basis. So, it's important. We've got to win all 4 games, and we only want to take them one at a time. I get that. But to have a chance to go to Sioux Falls at the end of the year, we've got to win all 4 games. And so Friday's the first of that 4-game test, and we'll have an idea of how bad we want to keep playing.
All right.